Hello, and welcome back to The Swamp. The Swamp is a podcast, and it's also an acronym, and it stands for...
Some whack-ass movie podcasting.
And we're friggin' pumped to be here with a guest today. We've been networking, you guys. We did not network through LinkedIn, but we do have a LinkedIn, which is more professional than I can say of, like, my personal life. But so we've done some light networking, and through the powers that be of the TikTok algorithm, we have found a wonderful guest to have today. He's Nomiddlenamedavis on, or it's Nomiddlenamedavis, right, on TikTok.
It's either one. I have no branding skills, so like it depends on the characters that they give me. So it's Nomiddlenamedavis, but it's Nomiddlenamedavis if you're nasty.
But this is Danny, and we're so excited to have you on our show, and you picked this freaking awesome movie that we've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I have to say, you gave us the most, like, formal, itemized list of films that were banger after banger, and we were like, how the fuck do we pick? You were like, Space Jam or Into the Spider-Verse or Scott Pilgrim, and we were like, oh my god, how do we choose? Like, it was so tough.
Trying to whittle it down, there was like fully 30 movies, and we're like, this is more than we even give ourselves on the regular.
Feel free to steal some of those for the month.
We
might.
We definitely, going forward. But so our theme this month is, what do we, like, badass soundtracks, good soundtracks, bangers, good soundtracks. And so, we told you that, and you sent us all these movies, and in the end we picked Scott Pilgrim. And so, do you just want to speak a little bit to, like, your personal history with this movie, or, like, why you chose it? Because, I mean, obviously you chose it because the soundtrack fucking slaps.
It does. All right. So first off, everyone in the outside universe, hello. I chose this movie. I saw this movie the weekend it opened when I was, when did this movie come out? Let me scroll
I think
up.
2009.
I was 11 years old, and I begged my mom to be like, Mom, can we please go see Scott Pilgrim? Because video games, I was like, I'm a gamer. I have a gamer shirt. The audience cannot see this. So I was like, Mom, could you please take me to see Scott Pilgrim? And it was mid-August, and we were in a theater. Mom didn't know what was going on, but this movie blew my balls off. I was like, oh my God. I'd like, oh my God, movies are magical. And I fell in love with this film when I was 10 years old, and it ruined my life. Like that one guy said Scott Pilgrim ruined a lot of women's lives. It ruined my life. It ruined a lot of young men's lives.
Add me to the list.
Me, Lil Uzi Vert, Kid Cudi, it ruined our lives. And then, years later, I went into an FYE, if anybody knows what those are anymore. So I went into an
OG Newberry Comics. Like,
I went into an FYE, and I actually, like, found this, like, on sale. It's a Blu-ray copy, Ultimate Edition of Scott Pilgrim, tin cased, whatever, Steelbook, that's the word. And I watched it, and I watched the special features, and it was like, Lindsay Ellis, I'm sorry that her channel's gone. She's not doing YouTube stuff anymore. Miss her forever. She said Lord of the Rings was that movie that was like, I love movies. I want to do them forever. For me, while I have my issues with it now, Scott Pilgrim versus the World, watching all the special features, seeing literally all the training that they had to do for this movie was like, oh, movies are magical. The thing that got me was like the one scene where like he goes into the bathroom, the pee bar scene. Yeah. That in the hallway, and that they do that in like one take. And I saw in the background they like changed it into an entire like it's an entire different set. They moved the steps out of the way. It doesn't look like a house, it looks like a high school hallway. I'm like, oh, movies are magical. Oh, that wasn't green screen? Movies are magical. I love movies forever now. And so this is where I am. And this is where we are forever. So
no, I'm so glad you picked this, because I think that this is definitely one of those films that, like, if you were in that boat where you saw it in, like, the middle school, like 6th grade kind of age, and like I really think that was this movie's impact on so many people, because I feel the same way. It was like on a Tumblr list of like movies for cool people, and I was like in 6th grade, and I was like, oh yeah, let me like illegally download like Pulp Fiction, and like fully this movie gave me ego problems. Like I felt better than everyone else because I was like, oh, I like cool movies. I like torrent cool people movies from Tumblr, and like, oh, you don't know Scott Pilgrim? Like, let me let you in on a secret about this really cool movie that, and me as a 12-year-old, like, I like felt that. I also have I didn't bring it over here, but I collect movie soundtracks on vinyl, and so maybe I'll do a little like video on our Instagram story or something going through my huge stack. But I have the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack fully on vinyl, like definitely bought it in like middle school and was like, oh my god, I'm so cool. But I like that this movie kind of lets you grow up with it, because every single time I watch it, I notice something that I love about it, and I notice something that I hate about it.
Yeah.
And every time it's like, you get a little, because there are all those little idiosyncrasies, and the dialogue is so fast, and the filmmaking is so detail-oriented and silly and fun, that you get those things, and I do find myself picking up on something new every time. But then also I'm like, I have aged, and I have matured, and this movie has not. And now I'm like realizing where I thought that this was like the greatest thing ever created the world in 2012 or whatever, when I first saw it, and now I'm like, yeah, this is my male manipulator movie. This is my red flag.
I was gonna
like,
say.
I'm on a first date and I quote Scott Pilgrim, and they turn around and I'm like, fair, yeah, fair.
I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. It's so funny that you said that you think that this is one of those movies that like gave you such an ego, Darren, because I'm 90% sure that you're the person that first showed me this movie when we were like 14 or something. Like that.
Yep.
Like, you have to watch this. You haven't seen Scott Pilgrim? Hold on.
Right, yeah, I was like in 6th grade going around to people being like, ugh, you haven't seen Pulp Fiction? I'm like, we're 12. What 6th grader? Like, I'm sorry, not everybody is like at 2 a.m. Yeah, illegally like pirating things from Tumblr. I think Tumblr definitely. I know, Danny, you have in your bio, you're like Tumblr veteran.
Yeah, I deleted.
And I felt like this.
I deleted mine. I don't want anybody to know what I was doing on that.
It's gotta go. Hard
but just
wipe.
like that culture of like we are the quirky, weird corner of the internet, and this is where all the cool, gritty stuff happens. Like, really, I think formed a big part of my personality as being like a fucking egomaniac. Like, I really was like, I'm so quirky and cool, and my taste is better than everyone else's, like, in 6th grade.
Oh yeah, no. For me, Tumblr was like this. I always compared Tumblr to, it's like, it was like the speakeasy you had to knock on the door and like, oh yeah. And it's like, it had like its cool people in there, but also it was like an opium den, like in the back. So when I got on Twitter and I just saw everybody was on there, it's like the fancy upscale club that in the gentrified neighborhood. It's like, wow, it's so weird to be on Twitter and get likes from famous people. It's like, we're all here and we can't like show our butts on Twitter because everybody's here. But Tumblr, it's like, you could be the weirdo in the corner who wore the trench coat and nobody would say anything to you.
Yeah, because
however,
there's 10 other people in that room that are so much weirder. It's like, no one's looking at you. They're looking at the other ones that are doing it worse.
But similar to Dara's point, I was like, I felt so cool I felt cooler than my classmates. You guys talked about Booksmart months ago. I was like, yeah, no, Molly's about who I was. I thought I was better than literally everybody else. I was like, I am the best. I know everything. You guys know nothing. I watched the cool movie. I watched Scott Pilgrim once when I was a kid before, and nobody was like, Danny, we do not give a shit. We do not. Keep it to yourself.
Do you guys think that the ego thing just comes from how stylistically different like this movie is? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the like Easter egg style cinematography, right, where it's like hitting you over the head. It is bashing you over the head with like everything is stylized as an X, and every evil X has a big number to say which one they are, and it's so like comic book style, over your head, obvious, like pow, boom, but then also just a little bit enough to make you feel smart that you get it when you're 12. So I'm like, this movie is cool and I get it. But then you kind of are like, yeah, that's the point. It's so in your face that you can't not get it.
I think it goes to the director. Edgar Wright knows so much more about movies than a lot of people do, because I was looking at the Wikipedia for this movie. Edgar Wright cited Mario Bava's Danger Diabolic as an influence to Scott Pilgrim. I'm like, this Italian movie that nobody knows? Are you like? I had to look up a trailer for that. I'm like, yeah. I also got yeah. I also got inspiration from like the Valley of the Dolls and the Phantom of the Paradise. I'm like, you know so much about movies, man. It's like, and it's like, I think that's what helps this movie like out, like, because in the wrong hands, this movie would have just been. It would have been Ready Player One, and Ready Player One was by Spielberg. And like that's what gets. I'm like, Ready Player One, you're done by Spielberg, and like you're that movie that we thought Scott Pilgrim was gonna be.
Yeah,
I love Edgar Wright was like fully watching these like old foreign films, and he's like taking notes. He's like, bread makes you fat. This is flirting. He's like over here being like, 7 evil exes. Her hair will be blue.
Her hair will be blue. It'll be pink, blue, green. I was watching this movie for this podcast with my friend, a close friend. Let me plug their name is Truly Boo Boo the Fool. You may they were watching the movie with me because I'm like, hey, you want to watch Scott Pilgrim? And they said yes, absolutely. And they were watching the movie and they would watch Ramona. I'm like, oh, Ramona's going through it. 3 hair colors and 3 no, girl's going through it. Homegirl's having a thing. She's like, trust me, homegirl, like you could do better than Scott, homegirl. You're just going through it.
Like the bangs get just a little shorter every time too. It's she was just like in the bathroom being like, fuck it. Oh, this asshole.
She's like, really, Scott? Oh my god.
But I do love Edgar Wright fully makes the playlist before making the movie.
Absolutely.
And every time it's like the banger soundtrack and I'm like, oh, that this was step 1. Like this came first. And I not to stray from topic too quickly, but I know Emily and I both recently saw Last Night in Soho and thought it was dog shit.
Right?
Oh
my god! Oh my god! I could go on.
I'm so glad that I didn't pay to actually see it in a theater, and I paid like $6 to rent it, and I was still mad that I paid that $6 because it was shit garbage.
Oh, you guys, I saw it on opening day in Dolby Theater. I was fucked because it was delayed a year because of COVID. And I was like, I'm going to see my Edgar Wright movie first day, baby. I'm going to be in the front. And then I got on TikTok that night. I was nicer about it that night. And as time has gone on,
mad.
I'm like, oh my fucking God. I'm like,
yep.
I feel like this movie is like, you can watch, I'm like, oh, I feel bad about saying this.
No, speak.
But the thing about Last Night, it made me realize, does Edgar Wright, like, even though he had a woman co-writer, does he know how to write women? Like, and it's like this awkward feeling of, I don't think he knows how to, like, this movie would have been so much better in the hands of a female director.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Edgar Wright, I don't think you know. I'm like, not, and like, I know you watch a lot of Dario Argento. I know you watch a lot of Italian, like, horror, so you can get in them, but it's like, it doesn't pay off when it's like, every female character in this movie is like antagonistic or the villain.
Yeah. I just feel bad. My whole thing was like, I feel like he just doesn't like he didn't know what he was doing for the entire thing. It's like one of those things where like you go into a paper without like an outline, like, or even like bullet points, you know what I mean? Like when you did absolutely nothing. You're like, it's the 11th hour, I have to write this. And that's exactly how this movie feels. He was like, oh shit, and he just started pulling different things together and he's like, okay, yeah, it's a movie.
I actually made a TikTok about this, like the litmus test for if you can tell if a movie might be like dog shit or it might not be, you don't know, but like the thing of, I'm worried is like when you say don't spoil it, I'm like, you don't want us to talk about it. Like they start doing it like right after like Venice, as when it went there for the film festival. It's like, don't spoil Last Night in Soho. Or like, are you kidding? Like, what happens? I'm like, ooh, what happens? And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what happens in this movie? So we were just talking about we went on a Last Night in Soho tangent.
I feel like though I had it in the back of my mind while I was watching this one, because I certainly have my qualms with Scott Pilgrim as a film. I mean, we've all like recognized the problematic nature of Scott as a character, I think, over the years. But I was like, well, at least it's not Last Night in Soho, you know? Like, at least it's not that.
No. Well, think about Scott.
Yes, Scott, problematic fave, but, like, is he even a fave?
He's not a fave. Right, so the thing about Scott, I was watching this movie because Edgar Wright actually did make a good movie this year. The Sparks Brothers, which was amazing. Loved it. It was a lovely precursor to Annette. So I was watching all of his movies because I'm like, I want to get in the mode. I want to see an Edgar Wright movie in theaters again. I was excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I watched this movie and I'm like, I'm 22. Like, Scott Pilgrim, you're dating a high schooler. That's weird. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, aren't you 25? I'm 22. I'm like, I'm 22. I would never. What? What do you mean you're dating a high schooler? I don't even look.
Pedophilia in our protagonist on this film. And that is something that aging, as I did not really think too much about it when I was younger and I watched this, I was like, yeah, like maybe it's a little questionable because he certainly is like on the defense about it when he's like talking to his friends. No, I'm here and I'm like, he needs to be in prison. We need to put Scott Pilgrim in jail and we need to protect Knives Chow at all costs. Because this is not okay. And the way all his friends are like, it's not really cool, dude. I'm like, you need to be more than criticizing him. You need to be physically restraining him and getting that girl back to her study group.
Get her back to yearbook club.
She does not need to be flirting with, this loser. Because he's 22, he's talking to a 17-year-old. What makes other 22-year-old women not want to date him? So, eyebrows.
Yeah. It's so hard because, like, you definitely knew, like, those girls in high school, you know what I mean? And that was, like they were so blind to it. And I'm like, Knives! Bestie!
Girl!
Right, I feel like, girl, like, when I was younger, I always was like, ugh, Knives is, like, annoying, she's clingy, I can totally, like, see why he would, like, I don't know, and then she goes and dates young Neil, and you're like, oh, this is so, like, she's so immature. And now I'm like, yeah, she's immature because she's in high school, and also she deserves the world. I'm like, Knives Chow, you are trying your best. Mm-hmm. You are just being put through it by this man, and you need to just, like, go out and live your best life, and not, like, now I'm like, Knives Chow fan club over here, because I'm like, I get it. She's immature because she's literally a child.
Yeah, it's like, all too well just starts up every time I see her. Just the opening notes, just like, girl, no, he's not good for you. Just take her by the hand and be like, no, girl, he's not good for you. He's just not good for you.
But also the way this movie, like, illuminates the manic pixie dream girl, like, as a young person, you can be like, oh, Knives is so clingy, she's so annoying, but, like, Ramona's so cool. And for some reason, that, like, excuses Scott's behavior, I think, is the way they position. Like, of course he would cheat on Knives with Ramona. She's so mysterious and cool and aloof. And, like, it's just the way he goes about doing it. When he's like, oh, I didn't cheat on you with Knives, I cheated on Knives with you, or whatever, like, that moment, I think, is, like, what, I'm like, oh, he's dog shit, huh? Like, he's a shit person. Is, because as you know, a viewer could easily be like, yeah, that's excusable behavior. Right, Ramona, you should just forgive him, because obviously he cheated on his high school girlfriend with you, you're so cool, but, like, no, Knives and Ramona need to ride off into the distance together away from Scott.
I just really like that the only time in that sort of context that he learned his lesson is once he dies. Scott had to die to realize that was not okay.
I feel so bad. I felt so bad for her. I was like, you were so wronged. I'm sorry that you had to deal with this man.
Right. And then what'd she get? She got punched. She got the highlights punched out of her hair.
It's punched out of her hair. This is like one of those movies that I am so annoying to watch it with. Like, you do not, like, there's a small pocket of movies that I'm like, I am gonna say the dialogue and you can't stop me, kind of thing. And you punch the highlights out of her hair.
That was an Oscar-worthy performance. Just that one line of dialogue. I was like, yeah.
From young Neil.
Fun fact, this film was actually shortlisted for Best Visual Effects.
Oh my god.
Really?
It was on the short list. It was like, it didn't end up getting on, but it was like, we considered it. Yeah. I feel like the star.
It is pretty fire.
Yeah, I feel like the star of this movie is not Michael Cera. It's Edgar Wright. This is the movie that's like, every director was like, because I feel like Edgar Wright was a director that, like, before, it's like, yeah, he did Hot Fuzzy and Shaun of the Dead. Those are big movies, but, like, those are very UK. Tarantino was like, oh. And, like, every director was like, Tarantino was like, apparently Tarantino was, like, really involved in this. As time went on, he helped him decide the ending. They changed the ending, actually. Famously.
Yeah, I read that they test ran it with him and Knives getting back together at the end, and everyone in the audience was like, boo! Tomato, boo! And they were like, yeah, maybe not then, maybe not. So then they reshot it, but watching it, knowing that, this was the first time that I had been watching it that I knew that fact, and like, it really is leading up to that. Like, the last 10 minutes of this movie, if you have it in mind that him and Knives are gonna get back together at the end, it makes a lot of sense, right? They do the sword fight in tandem thing. They're, like, rekindling their respect and friendship for each other. Like, kind of, I'm like, oh, it would make sense for them to get, I mean, it would be awful. It would be a horrible end to the movie. But, like, the way the plot is going, I'm like, oh, I can really see how that was, like, probably the way this movie was gonna end.
110%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but speaking about Michael Cera, how do y'all feel about him in this role?
It's one of the, I don't think anyone else could have done it, really. Like, unfortunately, like, it's one of those things. I love Michael Cera and I hate Scott, but I thought it was just perfect.
Yeah.
No, it's like, he's so, like, dorky that you're, like, Michael Cera is, like, so, like, lanky and skinny and dorky and just, like, what? And in this movie, you're like, you've been with every woman in this movie who's not your sister, basically, right? It's like, Alison Pill, Ellen Wong, like, fucking Brie Larson. I'm like, all of these women you pulled. But then I'm like, Michael Cera, maybe. Scott Pilgrim, no.
Well, according to my friend, shout out to Truly Boo with the Fool again, they said Scott Pilgrim is that guy who would. He would be the biggest bum in the world and he would pull everyone. 1,000 in a small like Toronto in Canada. Oh, he's a Canada 10. He's in a band. Like, he's a Pennsylvania 10 and he's a Canada 10. Like,
hold on. You know who my 10 in this movie is Kieran Culkin as
right?
Oh,
I felt so cool.
Yes!
I felt so cool when Succession came. I'm like, I knew him from Scott Pilgrim.
I love him.
Like,
I'm
I knew.
I would like to think that that those two things take place in the same universe. That this is Roman Roy, who just had to, like, go on witness protection for a few years, and they're like, yeah, we're just gonna move you up to Canada. We're gonna get you a roommate. Just, you gotta hang out up there for a little bit. You have to be gay for some reason. Just don't worry about it. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. This movie takes place in the same universe as Succession, to me and for me.
So when is Kendall gonna, like, straight up just, like, start fighting his dad? When is his dad gonna pull out a giant mech and they're gonna start going at it?
Yeah, really. I'm waiting. Besides, like, both of those two great performances, I feel like the elephant in the room is just Brie Larson. Honestly.
Right? She got mega famous.
Moaning.
She got
moaning.
mega famous. Like, it's so weird to look.
I'm interested. I want to hear her perspective, and if it was her stylistic choice or if it was Edgar Wright's, to say, you need to use a porn star voice for this role.
Hey, Scott. They're like, you can't close your mouth. Your mouth cannot be fully closed at any given moment. And also, like, you're gonna have to rip a shot of gin, so you're just, like, raw in the vocal cords. And she's like, hey. She's, like, post-verbal. She's fully post-verbal in this movie. It's mostly just,
Ramona, nice outfit. Affordable.
oh, her song in this movie might be the best. It might be the best.
My
It's
God.
iconic.
Like, it was so funny when that song finally was released on Spotify. It was, like, on Billboard. It's like, the kiddies were like, the girlies went crazy for this one.
Ate it up. Just ate it up.
Ate it
is
up.
on Spotify?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
For the 10th anniversary.
yeah, the whole soundtrack
Okay.
is. I was like, it's so funny to me that the Scott character is, like, all sour that her band, like, made it big and that Sex Bomb is still practicing in somebody's basement, because I'm like, have you heard
Sex
the
Bomb
music?
sucks.
Like, Sex Bomb does have some bangers, but, like, I'm like, no, the Clash at Demon Head is just light years ahead. The production quality, the lyricism. I'm like, Scott, who do you think you are? Have you heard? Have you heard Envy
Sex Bomb-
Adams? She is
Sex
star
Bombs
quality.
are not moaning into the microphone as their song intro. If you're not doing that, I mean, I don't know what to tell you,
It's
Scott.
over. Maybe Steven could like start doing some like
Yeah.
right before.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
No, hot take. And I think it's the only reason that Sex Bombs won. The original battle of the bands was because Crash and the Boys got like disintegrated in the fight or something like that. Crash and the Boys should have won, and that's the hill I'll die on.
That song is a banger. I can feel you. I can hear you.
Solid, absolutely solid.
Is that girl also a boy? Yeah.
I love it. Oh my god. Like I want a movie about that band instead of Sex Bombs.
But it was so funny watching this movie. In a post Dear Evan Hansen world, it's so funny watching this movie. Because it's like, oh, Ben Platt's dad! He produced this! Oh shit!
Yeah. Wasn't it like a whole thing? And I feel like, Danny, you'd probably know better than I would. Didn't they actually learn how to play all of their instruments for this
They did.
movie?
They did. Everybody learned how to play their... It was funny because everybody's like, you guys gotta play shittier. Like, you're in a shitty garage band. You have to learn how to play shittier.
Be bad.
Like... But I'm not Anthony Fantana or anything, but I don't think they sound that bad. I think they sound like... Maybe it's because Beck, like, produced all those songs in reality. But it's like...
Probably.
But Beck's made some bad music, so, I mean, in his lifetimes.
That checks out. I didn't know that, but, like, that really checks out. Yeah, but it can't be that bad, because, like, I've paid real US dollars to own the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack, so, like, it's not that bad, because it does slap, and I do like in the context of the movie, it just, like, it fits so seamlessly that they're bad, but they're good, but then also... Matthew Patel's gonna show up and do his musical number, which is just light years ahead of where anyone else is at. I'm like, that's why they won. Is they thought that whoever was judging was like, oh, this is part of the thing, right? With the floating demon girls and the musicality, Broadway production value of this. They're like, oh, this is Sex Bombs thing. They're gonna stage the fight and they're gonna winners. Matthew Patel is the reason they won that battle.
Absolutely.
Do you guys have a favorite battle from the movie? Because there's a handful of them.
Okay. I really like the first one because it's a knuckle down drag out fight. Because the other ones he like kind of like has to not cheat. He like outsmarts them. Mm-hmm. The first one's like an actual just straight up, okay, I'm going to fight you. Mm-hmm. And it's like he trained a bunch for it. The last one's good because of all the visual inventiveness. Yeah. But I gotta say, even though they're on screen for like not that long, the Kentanagi twins, they have the best fight because it's a musical fight.
Mm-hmm. It's so sick. The two dragons,
like especially when it's like in your headphones, it's like you hear the synths. I'm like, oh yes, yes.
They invented EDM.
Like they invented EDM. EDM was like before them, then after that, like a G6. That's not accurate at all. Like a G6 became first.
They laid the groundwork.
That was like, knowing film production, like probably they were first. Yeah. Knowing how long film production takes.
What about you, Dara? What are your stances on?
To me and for me, it is Chris Evans' eyebrows. Mm-hmm. Whatever makeup person, Glossier, boy-browed, Chris Evans' eyebrows into that, like, horrific black shape with the arch. Oh, stunning. Stunning. I'm like, how is he being a better comic book character right now than he has ever been in any Captain America movie? Ever.
You're so right.
The grind down the rail into the poof of smoke. I'm like, yes, this is better. This is it. It's the eyebrows and it's the attitude. I love him in this movie. He's being such a goof.
It was the chin strap for me. I won't lie. Yeah.
The chin strap and the eyebrows. I'm like, who made this choice?
I wouldn't say that this one's my favorite. I'd say the one that the Kentanagi twins one is probably my favorite. But I do have to just give props to the I forget her name, but the girl that's in the lineup, number 4 of Ramona's exes.
Mae Whitman.
Yeah. Roxy. Roxy Richter, and she's here to make it clear.
Yeah, it's just my whole thing of, I was sitting there, And it's one of those things, like, not that, like, I didn't catch on to it, like, in, like, my previous watches, but, like, sort of, like, at the end of that, I was like, did Ramona just win this fight by making her come? It was like...
Absolutely. 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 That is...
Stylistically, I was like, Ramona, good for you. Like, Scott doesn't have the suave for, like... everyone to fight that way.
Scott has literally never.
No.
Literally just pokes the back of her knee. And I was like, I'm watching this girl orgasm on screen right now. I was like, oh.
This was a scene that I've gone back in later years. I'm like, oh, I watched this with my mother for the first time in a theater. And I was like, oh no. Oh my god! Why did I make her watch this with me?
Yeah, like, you're sitting there smiling away, like, in the theater, and she's, like, sitting there in horror. She's like, what did I bring my son to?
Oh, the humanity!
But so, Emily, to go off of your question, I also had a question to, like, put out to, you know, the panel here. So, if we are looking at the facts of this film, when Scott defeats an ex, they turn into coins.
Yes.
Right? They disintegrate into coins. Do they turn into coins? Do they respawn? Or has no one ever beaten the first evil X? Or did they just form the league yesterday?
Brian Lee O'Malley actually does have an explanation.
Okay.
So they just poof back home, wherever they were born. Wherever they live, they just poof back there. According to he doesn't kill them. He, like...
Okay. Because I'm like, has Scott murdered... Is he straight up murdering these people? I don't know
has a body count.
But I appreciate the insight.
You know, so it's like, they don't show up again, but it's like, yeah, no, they just poof back to wherever they are, and it's like, son of a bitch, I have to, like, take the train back to wherever, I have to take a plane back, and it's like, he didn't kill them, per se, they just go back to where they were, like, their original house. Like, for Scott, if he actually died, he'd be like, he'd show up at that house right across the street from his apartment. He'd just be like, okay, I'm going back.
Yep, round 2.
I would just like to, like, live in the universe where that this league has existed and every person who's ever tried to be with Ramona just has failed at defeating X number 1. Like, nobody's ever gotten past Matthew Patel.
Good fight.
Right? He sent an email, too. I love the cursory, like, hey, just to let you know, that's why I feel like it can't be said that the League was formed, like, before Ramona has, like, Scott's not the first test subject of this experiment, right? Because Matthew Patel knows to send the cursory email. This has happened before. He's a tried and true battler. I'm glad that you knew the actual answer, though, because I was, like, in the shower and I was, like, racking my brain. I'm like, did he kill those people?
So we're talking about the fights. I actually do want to. It's a little sad.
Okay.
So they actually got Jackie Chan's stunt team for this film.
Oh, really?
So that was a big to do. But yeah, so one of the stunt coordinators, Brad Allen, he actually died last year. He's done stunts for a lot of films. He did the stunts for Kingsman. He did Shang-Chi. He did. If any action movie in the last several, like, decade has had a cool action sequence, it was because of him.
Okay.
So yeah, he passed away in August of last year. It was just a thing I wanted to throw out there. So it's like, so it was weird. Rest in peace. It was weird seeing him on the special features and say, yeah, he's like, Edgar Wright's like, yeah, he's like an athlete. He's like a trained athlete. Like, because Edgar Wright actually worked out with the stars with this movie.
That's cool. That's really cool of him.
Like, he was like, he did not just like, yeah, I'm just going to be over here while you guys do your ab crunches every day. He was with them with the medicine ball. Also, Kieran Culkin had to do the medicine ball thing. Not in a fight in this movie. He was not in a fight in this movie.
He's over here with his drink. He's, like, sipping his drink and, like, making side eyes, and they're like, no, you have to
like,
do 100 pull-ups to be able to do
It was so funny watching him do it. I'm like, you don't even have a fight scene. You don't even have a...
I do love just the fact that Michael Cera had to, like, actually, like, really work out for this and everything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It was like take...
That boy weighs
like
soaking wet.
It's like Taken era. Like, this is like, I think this was about the time of Taken. It was so interesting. The idea of, like, the trailer's like, yeah, this boy you knew from all these indie movies, he's gonna beat people's asses. And it's like he's going to, like, that was the thing that got me. I'm like, this kid from Juno is going to fight? Oh, I'm there. I have to see this.
Yeah, all right.
Polly Bleeker. I love. Have either of you watched Arrested?
I've seen
No,
clips.
unfortunately.
I think that's my favorite Michael Cera performance. Is him in Arrested Development. He just wants to fuck his cousin, and he's 12. It's awful.
So
I love
funny.
it. Okay, cool. So this is our little interim segment, Chocolate or Vanilla, hosted by my wonderful mother, Jen. She just asks us 2 questions, and we just say which one we like better. So is there a theme this week?
So we got a double theme. It's things from 2010 and stars of this movie.
Great.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. This is like star-studded cast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like before, a lot of them got really famous too. Like Brie Larson wasn't particularly big. Aubrey Plaza, Anna Kendrick is such a jump scare in this movie to me. I'm like, what? Anna Kendrick is here? What the
she
fuck?
filmed this before Twilight.
Oh my
This
god.
is
I
pre-Twilight,
love that.
so. Also, there's I think that's crazy that there is an Oscar winner in this. When I heard that she won the Oscar, I'm like, oh, from Scott Pilgrim? Oh, word. I was like, oh my goodness. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So 2010. I'm sorry. Chocolate or vanilla?
Chocolate.
Vanilla.
Vanilla.
And chocolate. Okay. 2010. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt get married, or Prince William and Kate Middleton get engaged?
Ew, fuck the Royals. John Krasinski and Emily Blunt
Yeah,
for the win.
John
Fuck the
Krasinski
Royals.
and Emily Blunt are my idea of royalty. I love their marriage, so definitely them.
They made did William and Kate make A Quiet Place? I think not. So John Krasinski, Emily Blunt. They got married in 20. They've been married
Yes.
for 10 years. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna go same. I only like the royals from the 1500s, so I'll take John
Fair enough.
Krasinski and Emily Blunt. Okay, Aubrey Plaza in this movie or Aubrey Plaza in Parks and Recs?
Oh, Aubrey Plaza in this movie. I feel like she just had to work with Chris Pratt, and I just feel bad for her, and I feel like it just clearly took a toll on her mental state. So her in this movie. Also, like when they bleep out her mouth, like that was just as a kid one of like the little fun effects that they did that really got me. I'm like, oh, that's so silly and fun. This movie's so quirky.
Yeah, I don't know. Parks and Rec was one of those things I watched like the first couple of seasons and then I stopped. And I think I definitely got more out of this movie at Aubrey Plaza in this movie than Parks and Rec. So I'll go with her in this.
I'd also have to go with Aubrey Plaza in this, but also Aubrey. Like, I know this isn't one of the selections. I feel bad, but it's like Aubrey Plaza and Ingrid Goes West is like in both
Yes.
of them. So
Yeah.
Peak.
So,
Yes, I
but
agree.
yeah, Aubrey Plaza in this movie, definitely. Chris Pratt only has a Mario movie and the third Guardians before we're done. We're not.
I'll take Aubrey Plaza in this for the sweep. Black Swan or Inception?
I haven't seen Black Swan, so I think that's like that's a me problem. But I guess I'll pick Inception because I have seen it. But I love when she writes "whore" on the mirror with lipstick. I just like that meme of her like looking in the mirror and it says "whore."
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm in the same boat as Dara. We're bad little movie buffs. I haven't seen Black Swan, but Inception is just obvious. It's obviously outstanding. So
I meant to see Black Swan when it was on HBO a couple of months ago. I'm like, I should see that. I need to be a good film buff and
Right?
see Black Swan. And then I never did.
I feel so fake.
I was like, this is the performance that won her the Oscar, Danny. Oh my God. And it's like, yeah, I wasn't in the mood, so I'd have to say Inception. I saw that movie in IMAX.
What about you, Jen?
What, you saw that with an X? You said?
In IMAX. No, I didn't have an X at like 11 years old.
I feel like seeing Inception in IMAX, the Hans Zimmer brrr must have vibrated your bones.
At the Franklin Tuttleman IMAX, rattled my bones. They don't play many movies in there anymore. I miss it. I saw The Dark Knight in there. I saw The Force Awakens in there. The Force Awakens theater was crowded. Every seat was filled. It was
I can
crazy.
imagine.
Okay, I'll take Inception too for the sweep. Brie Larson in this or Brie Larson in Captain Marvel?
Brie Larson
Oh,
in
yeah.
this. Brie Larson in this. And Envy Adams could do Captain Marvel, but Captain Marvel could never perform the Clash of Demon Head. Is my stance.
No, I'm not a Marvel person. I think I've made that abundantly clear on this podcast. But I am definitely an Envy Adams stan, so definitely Brie Larson in this.
I feel so bad for Brie Larson and Captain Marvel because internet dude bros have like overtaken that movie.
Ugh,
and I've had to like defend it so many times. I'm like, I don't even like her in this. I have like my issues that are not with Captain Marvel, that are not Brie Larson's. I am so glad Nia DaCosta is taking over that franchise. I'm happy for Nia DaCosta. I was supposed to pick an answer. Brie Larson in this. Also, shout out to Brie Larson in Room. Shout out to her. Doing the damn thing.
I almost used that one, but I'm gonna take Brie Larson in this also. So for the sweep. Okay, CeeLo, Forget You, or Justin Bieber, Baby.
Oh my god, I just liked CeeLo Green when he was on The Voice because he was the coach nobody wanted to pick. But I was like, if I could sing and I would go on The Voice, I would have picked CeeLo to like be different or something. I don't know. In my like weird like 4th grade fantasy in which I could be when I could sing and I would go on The Voice and I would pick CeeLo. I don't know. I guess I'll pick Fuck You by CeeLo Green.
I'm also going to have to go with CeeLo because that song still slaps.
Baby still slaps. I'm going to go with Justin. I'm going to be a rebel rouser and pick Baby by Justin Bieber. So Baby by Justin Bieber. That's my pick.
Same. I think Baby slaps also. Brandon Routh in this, or Brandon Routh in the 2006 version of Superman Returns?
Who's Brandon Routh?
He's Todd. He's Todd.
And he was Superman?
Yes.
Yeah, so in one movie. He was only Superman for one movie. He's also Ray Palmer and Adam in the Arrowverse. But I didn't want to do that one.
Nobody watches those CW shows but you, Mom. They just keep renewing them because you and Dad watch them. I don't understand. Nobody else watches Supergirl. I just don't understand how they have the funding to keep these shows going.
They don't. They're going bankrupt.
I'll pick him in this, though, because I didn't even know that there was a 2006 Superman. Like, Henry Cavill's the only Superman that I am aware of.
I'm in the same boat as Dara. I have no idea who that person is, but just because they're in this movie, I'll say this.
I do know of the Brandon Routh Superman, directed by Bryan Singer, by the way. So that's an extra level of so that's why nobody's heard of it. Nobody talks about this movie. So I'd have to also go with Brandon Routh in this. Poor Brandon Routh.
I'm gonna say same. I'll take him in this. Lost or Social Network?
Social Network.
Social Network. Dara, are you all right?
Sorry, I'm having like a technical stroke right now. I'm what the TV show Lost or the movie The Social Network?
That is correct.
Those are like we can't even come. That's so hard. I love that show so much. It's bad. It's a bad show, and I really love it a lot, and I think I've seen it all the way through like 4 or 5 times, which is so There's like 8 seasons, and for what? It gets bad after season 2. Why have I watched it more than once? I just love the TV show Lost. It just does something for me. The Social Network's good too, though.
What about you, Jen?
I'll take Social Network, definitely. So Mary Elizabeth Winstead in this, or Mary Elizabeth Winstead in Sky High?
Oh my god. I thought you were going to say her in Birds of Prey.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
And that was my prediction. Oh, Sky High. What a banger of a film that just took the world by storm for no reason. The character War and Peace was everything to me as a 6th grader. That movie awoke something within me. I'll say her in Sky High because she's good in this, but Ramona Flowers problematic fave. Yeah. Whereas Sky High not problematic.
Yeah, Sky High holds a special place in my heart. So I feel like I have to pick her in that, just because it's one of those things. If I had to rank Scott Pilgrim or Sky High in like levels of importance to me, Sky High is above Scott Pilgrim.
Okay, so I didn't, until I was like an actual adult, I didn't know She was in Sky High. Didn't know. And then I saw a clip of Sky High. I'm like, Mary Elizabeth Winstead's in this. Like, really? Like, oh, she is. So, a transformative performance, might I add. I was like, I'm like, oh, she's giving everything. She's giving. Like, in this movie, I do feel bad because there's so much in the comics. Ramona does so much more and has so much more agency as a character. Yeah. So I have to say, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Sky High, amazing, peak performance.
Yeah, I'm same. I'm going to say Sky High for sure. So from 2010, Lady Gaga in the meat dress or Angry Birds?
Meat dress. Easy. Meat dress. Iconic.
Meat dress.
Every day. Meat dress.
Meat dress. Club. Another club. Another club. Plane. New place. No sleep. No rest.
Meat dress. Salami. Pastrami. Roast beef.
The fame was not made in, like, I was working. It was a hustle.
Yeah.
Jen, are you going to switch it up on us? No. Are you going to go Angry Birds or meat dress?
Meat dress for the sweep. Last one.
Meat dress.
Michael Cera in this or Michael Cera in Juno?
Oh.
Ooh.
Michael Cera in Juno. I love Polly Bleeker.
He's just a sweetie in this. Yeah, he's not, like, Scott is a grade A asshole, terrible person. Polly just got Juno knocked up on accident. Could have happened to anyone.
For me, it's like, when did I see, like, I saw this movie when I was, like, again, like 11, so it's like, Michael Cera will always be Scott Pilgrim in my mind. Take that as you will, good or bad. When I hear him voicing Robin, I'm like, that's Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
Like, I will forever associate him with this role. So, yeah, Michael Cera in this. Scott Pilgrim. I don't know who they're going to get to voice him in that animated series, though. It's animated, so I'll probably just get Michael Cera again.
Honestly,
yeah, I was going to say, if it's not him, I feel like people will riot if it's not him, but...
Yeah.
What
about you?
I'll take Michael Cera and Juno. So, but that was it. Things from 2010 and the stars that are in this movie.
Thank you so much, Jen. I liked this round a lot.
This is really fun. Thank you.
It was really nice to meet you.
Outstanding. All right.
I love you.
All right. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.
There's a lot about this movie. One, a film teacher of mine told me this. I took another. I think I lied. I said I took 2 film. I said I took 3. I forgot.
Oh my god!
I forgot.
Danny has taken 3 film classes, which officially makes him the most qualified person to have ever been on this show.
Yeah, no.
You are by far you have the title now, unless we get a guest who's like actually been in a movie, which is not gonna happen. We keep asking, we keep saying, Meryl Streep, come on the pod, dead air. So until we get Meryl, you hold the title of most qualified individual to be a guest on the swamp.
For me, it's he told us, you want to know something? Digital just doesn't cover it. Digital just doesn't do it. If you want a movie to be like stand out, like when you shoot on film, there's nothing like it. Like he said, like Moonlight, like it was a great film, beautiful film, amazing. You know what would have set it like over the edge, all time greats? It wouldn't have been a doubt if it was shot on film. So I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking, because now every time I look at a movie and I'm like, is it shot on film? Like, because you could, like Detective Pikachu of all the movies, I'm just like, oh, they shot this on film. Like that's a special sauce. So like looking at this movie, I'm like, yeah, he shot it on film. He was like big. Edgar Wright like knew what he was doing. So this film, it has a special place in my heart. But like Dara said earlier, it is like I outgrew this movie. It was like, yeah, no, you got me into film. You did get me in the door. But I've seen like, because like this is where it starts. This is the Rosetta Stone of my love of film. It starts here. Well, no, it starts at the Lion King. It starts at the Lion King, but like actually for real, it starts like here, because like I watched Jason Schwartzman's in Scott. He was in Scott Pilgrim. He's in this Fantastic Mr. Fox movie. Oh, I'm now watching Wes Anderson films. I am now a fan of Wes Anderson for life. I'm now a fan of Edgar Wright for life. I've seen his other films. Yep. Oh, what's this other director that Edgar Wright's telling me about? I should probably watch that. Oh, I should watch more. But looking at this film as like a thing, I'm like, oh, like you can tell that like they didn't finish the comics when this was written. When this was made. He finished them over the time of the entire production of this film because Brian Lee O'Malley was like, take my money, take my comic, I want money, I'm a starving artist. Do whatever you want, like do what you want with my comic. They took it and they said, we're gonna do right by you, and they did. The first comic is panel for panel. Like, Edgar Wright was going to do right by him as much as he could. But then there was a point where, like, we have to, like, finish this.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually excited for Scott Pilgrim Brotherhood. If anybody gets my Full Metal Alchemist reference.
Yeah.
I'm excited for Scott Pilgrim Brotherhood. That's going to be released on Netflix and is going to be a series because it'll capture, you know, some of the small, like... Because Scott Pilgrim's just a slice of life. Thing. It's just normal, everyday Canadians living their lives, and then they get into fights.
What more could you want?
And Scott Pilgrim,
slice of life, but also like violence, hierarchies of exes. This happens to me every day. Every day, I just have to battle somebody on my way to the bus stop. Whip out my enormous hammer and smash them to coins. No, you're so right, though.
Yeah. Dara, do we want to get into our regularly scheduled programming?
Yes. So first off, do we want to play Fuck, Marry, Kill?
Yes.
With just the whole movie? I don't even want to say there's like three particular main characters.
Because obviously, like, if there was three main characters, it would be Scott, Ramona, and Knives, but we exclude high schoolers, unlike Scott, from our our list. So the only other like thing that I could come up with like was like, okay, who else has like the most screen time? I was like, it's probably Kieran Culkin, honestly. So we could do Scott, Ramona, and Kieran Culkin, or we could just open it up to the whole movie.
let's
let's
do
the whole film because there's too many fuckable, marryable, and killable people in this film to not consider it as a whole. I know what I'm gonna say.
I know what I'm gonna say. I've been planning on this all 2 weeks. Fuck, marry, kill Scott. So, Wendy Williams, death to him, murder him in the street, when he's not paying attention. I will pull up on a spot if that's all I got. I would take the man out leaving church. I would nowhere sacred. Would Scott Pilgrim dead man if I could choose that.
Yep. Okay.
You're fucking him, marrying him, and killing him?
No.
All three?
No, just kill. Just
so
murder.
You're killing Scott. Okay.
I would have to say Mary Wallace. Because he's just, you see, like, a platonic marriage, like, he just seems nice to be around. Get you a Wallace. Get you a friend like Wallace.
Yeah.
Get you a Wallace. I gotta say, fuck Ramona.
Yeah, speak from your heart.
She's
childhood crush.
Childhood
crush.
I get it. I totally get it.
That was the blueprint.
I wanted to be her. I wanted to fuck her. I wanted to be her best friend. Hair dye sales went up 300% after this movie. Edgar Wright had a personal investment in Manic Panic hair dye, I swear to God, because every bitch wanted those fucking bangs and green hair, and you know, she's hardly pulling it off. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is Hollywood hot, and she is just a grain of rice away from not pulling that look off. And no normal looking person can have that haircut. What? You're gonna look botched.
So for also, I didn't like talk about him, but I would kill Gideon. Like, actually, like, Jason Schwartzman plays such a shit in this movie. I love it, but it's like, man, between this and Ash and Fantastic Mr. Fox, I'm like, oh, he's just... And also, Max, like, he's good at it. He's good at playing his shit.
Oh, yeah.
Homie's good at playing his shit. Like, I wish I could beat him up, But he's like, he would kick my ass. Like, Gideon would kick my ass. Ash wouldn't, because he's a fox and he's a child. Okay, I said this in a TikTok, but that line of one foot in the grave, the other foot on a banana peel, I'm like, I'm slapping that kid.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
I also love that it's like a child fox, and you're like, yeah, that's Jason Schwartzman, all right.
Me having a apology.
So I'm gonna kill Scott Pilgrim.
I think everyone can agree.
Just to
we're gonna
get him
kill
away.
Scott.
I'm gonna sneak up on him at the Goodwill. He's taking knives out on dates to the Goodwill, and I'm gonna peek from between the Hawaiian shirts, and I'm gonna knife him, and I'm gonna get the fuck out of there, and he's just gonna bleed out on the Goodwill floor, and that's gonna be that. I'm gonna fuck Steven, and here's the thing. He is, in the comics, I know he's canonically gay, so it's not gonna be good for either of us. But I'm gonna, in the movie, for some reason, they don't, like, they kind of imply that he's straight, but in the comics he's gay, so it's ambiguous. Who cares? We don't even need to have sex. We could just have a nice cuddle, like the way that Ramona and Scott do. We can just have a nice cuddle, drink some tea, whatever. I'm waiting till that bitch is asleep, and I am raiding his closet. Every cowboy cut style shirt that man has, I need. There was a yellow one. My Amazon history right now is like yellow cowboy cut style shirts, Scott Pilgrim, Steven style. I couldn't find any of them. I'm just waiting until that man lights out. I'm stealing the shirts. That's the motive of my fuck here, is to raid the closet and then block Ghost. He'll never hear from me again. And then I'm gonna marry Envy Adams.
Absolutely.
I just want to, like, that's the life. I'm gonna be on tour. I'm just gonna be like her
roadie.
housewife. Yeah. I'll load the truck, with the amps or something. I just want to be a part of the gang. I just want to hang out.
I couldn't agree with you more, obviously. Everyone's killing Scott here. Like, that's the only right answer, is Scott has to die. But I'm gonna instead of marry her, I'm gonna fuck Envy Adams for obvious reasons.
Oh yeah.
But I'm gonna marry Kim. I always really fucked with Kim. I think my and her disdain for Scott would really bring us together. And I think it would just be perfect. I like her vibe. We could just have a drum off.
Yeah, oh my god, 2 girl drummers? That is statistically so unlikely.
Oh, what? Emily,
Like-
you play the drums? That's so cool.
Yeah. Thanks.
Also, I forgot to mention, I'd fuck the voice, because Bill Hader's the voice.
Bill Hader!
I forgot. Bill Hader's the voice. He's the narrator.
True. Love him. Absolutely love him.
Yeah.
I have to say though, Emily, Allison Pill, Kim, when she's Dick Cheney's gay daughter in Vice, that's the jump scare for me.
Right.
That's the, like, connecting the IMDb strings. I was in the theater and I was like, Kim? Kim is Dick Cheney's gay daughter?
No, when she was a racist in them, I was like, girl, what, you in this? It's so weird seeing Scott Pilgrim people pop up places. I'm like, I knew you. It's like just jump scare when you see him. Jason Schwartzman's.
It's like when you see someone from high school at the gas station. It's like, you're like, oh god, but so for food and drink, you're hosting a little Scott Pilgrim themed soiree. I have a good one too, so let's duke it out. You first.
I will be honest. I had some input from my roommates on this. I think they came up with some really good ideas. I think you eat what Scott's gonna eat so that you just understand, like, how shitty of a person he is. So I think you drink a fucking PBR, because that's what a male manipulator is gonna drink, is PBR. And you eat a Hot Pocket, because I know Scott can't afford anything else.
That's good. Holy fuck.
A PBR and a Hot Pocket. See, that's like too real. Because if I was eating that and I was watching this movie, I would start, like, commenting outrageous things on girls' Instagram posts. Like, I would start acting up. I would start acting like a male manipulator.
Yeah. Going full method.
But so I went a little bit different from you.
Okay.
And so
Enlighten me.
I said that this is like 7th grade, like, prime. And do you just ever remember, like, realizing that you could put other shit into brownies? Like or like
Yeah.
they're called like slutty brownies.
Yeah.
Like I'm not talking about drugs here. I'm talking about like where you make brownies and you put fucking like cookie dough and then brownie mix and then Reese's peanut butter cups and then you crumble Oreos and M&Ms
Yeah.
on top, and it's fucking nasty, but for some reason it's just like, yes, that's what this movie is doing the most, and I want to be like, I'm in 7th grade doing the most, I'm gonna make slutty brownies. And then for your drink, you have to change drinks every time Ramona changes her hair. So you pick some sort of base liquor. You pick a base clear liquor, gin, vodka, rum, what have you, and then you get grenadine, blue curacao, and Midori. So you have pink, blue, and green. And you can basically just like seltzer, clear liquor, and then that. So you have your
I like
3
that.
color drinks, but you have to finish it and switch when her hair changes. Very complicated. But I do think you need 3 drinks to get through this movie.
I think you're
like,
so right. That's very
solidly.
smart. That's super smart of you.
Thank
I
you.
fuck with that.
I felt really good about this one.
Danny.
Usually I'm like, I don't know, cheese board and wine. But
Yeah.
this one I felt good about. Yeah, Danny, what do you
I'm
think?
cheese board and wine this one. I was like, oh yeah, you know, when I watched this movie, when I was watching this movie in college, you know, when I was like lonely in college and I was in my dorm room, I'd ordered a pizza from my favorite pizza place. This place called, what's her name? Aurora Pizza. And they'd have this pizza called the Boardwalk. It'd be like, crispy chicken and fries on the pizza. And
That's
I'd get
hot.
that and I'd order it and I'd have it and it'd have a small Boardwalk pizza and I'd order, a Sprite out of the vending machine, and that would be my night. That would be
Beautiful.
Friday night. That would be Friday night. Danny Davis's dorm room. You're welcome to come visit Casa del No Middle Name. It took me 3 times to get that. Also, now that you said that, now I realize I'm like the Cornetto trilogy. One was red, one was blue, one was green. Her hair was red, blue, and green. Edgar Wright keeps Edgar Wright.
He's just 3 steps ahead.
Doing the most.
Yeah.
He's thinking this.
And what would you follow this up with? If you had to pick a movie, like you start with Scott Pilgrim, what comes after? Because I said you watch Last Night in Soho and you just get pissed off that it's bad.
No.
Yeah.
No. Okay. So for me, because I did a marathon with these movies, all of Edgar Wright's movies. It's what it
Nice.
just you watch it as all of his movies. But you know what this movie pairs well with of his movies? The World's End. Because
okay.
it was all the lessons he learned from Scott Pilgrim of how to direct one of these movies.
Uh-huh.
And then you add Simon Pegg. And you add his writing. And like, oh, I feel bad about saying this, but I'm like, if all the movies that Edgar Wright should have gotten the Oscar for, The World's End should have been the one. That's his peak. Like, I think that you watch it with that, or you watch this after Ready Player One. It's like, how did Spielberg mess this up?
Okay, yeah, no, I like that. It's another thing, like, I'm always, like, iffy about, like, saying, like, watch Baby Driver, because it's just a problematic cast.
Yeah, no, that movie
But
is
it's
chaos
not- but
nowadays.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, like, I'm like, okay, especially, like, if you're coming off of, like, a super, like, soundtrack-charged movie, like, that is the ultimate, like, movie soundtrack movie, you know what I mean? So I'd say, like, if you don't have any personal issues with watching that, watch Baby Driver. What about you, Dara?
So I definitely was also on the like Edgar Wright track. Go watch like Shaun of the Dead or like Hot Fuzz or something, because it just like it makes sense. And then I was like thinking, actor connections. Like there are certainly you could just pick any actor who's in this and just watch something else that they've been in. And then I was like just looking over. I'm like, well, if you're doing the soundtrack thing, right? If we're sticking to theme here, I'm like, what is a movie with a soundtrack that just like stimulates me? And I think that this is a movie that's like still fun and funny and engaging, but like a little calmer, maybe a little just like less I'm doing the most. And I say Little Miss Sunshine, great soundtrack, very funny, but like let's take it down. Like at this point in the evening, I'm 3 drinks in and I just need to like relax a little bit. I just need a little Paul Dano. I just
Always.
need, just need a little Paul Dano right now. So I'm going to say Little Miss Sunshine. And then what do we want to rate this out of 10?
6.
In my heart, it's a 5. In my brain, it's a 7.
I firm 6 for me.
Or, in my heart, it's a 5 out of 5 stars. So like it's a 10 in my heart, it's a 7 in my brain.
Yeah. I'm sticking to
What about you, Danny?
I actually, like, when I went back, it was like, I remember I was like, this 10 movie years ago, and I was like, 7, like low 7. Like, now I'm like, my expectations are tempered. It's a low 7. It is just like, Yeah, it does its thing. Edgar Wright really does shine in this movie. He did a good job. But man, this is a lot of weird material. A lot of stuff is not working. It's one of those things that in hindsight, I'm like, I get why this bombed. This is a tough sell for a lot of people.
And it's also like, red flag to any of you. I know we have a lot of like young listeners. If you're like a 16-year-old girl and some boy comes up to you and says, I'm in lesbians with you, run away. Run away. But thank you so much, Danny, for being on our show, our most qualified guest yet. It was so fun to have you. Everyone should definitely go check out your TikTok. It's hilarious. Lately, you've been talking about a lot of the award season stuff, which I find, as a person who keeps up with that, very informative and engaging. So I'll link to your TikTok in the description, and everyone should definitely go check you out there. And also go check out The Swamp if you don't already. I'll also put our links to all our shit. I also haven't plugged our merch in a second. And I'm wearing a Swamp merch right now. So our link to our merch will also be in the description. Go get a fucking sticker and put it on your laptop, please. I beg of you. It's like $3. And we will be continuing Soundtrack Month next week. So keep your eyes and ears open. And once again, thank you, Danny. And to all of our listeners, we love you, and goodbye and good night.
Good night, everybody. It's been fun. Woo.